Welcome and hello. I'm delighted to have today the opportunity to introduce new inspirations to explore world documentary heritage with themes and questions which inspires art and encourages the exploration of historical and cultural practices, as well, and what is very important, to explore different worldviews and identities. I am an artist and a former professor for art and education, and I'm a corresponding member and work together in a close cooperation with Professor Dr. Lothar Jordan, Vice Chair of the Subcommittee of Education on Research in the UNESCO Memory of the World Programme Paris. Participatory art projects had been realized by us for years, focusing in one way also the teacher training, a very important way to reach with the teachers the pupils, and in this way our future generations. So in my following presentation, I would like to show how art projects with and about memory of the world entries become attractive to very different target groups. New perspectives can open a social and sustainable effect for adults and children with simple methods and possibilities. Among these following projects are portrait, a very successful medium, the museum coffers, and creative projects and their possibilities to mediate history, art, and nature. Since years at our University Paderborn, we had been creating with generation of students the so-called museumskoffers, especially as educational material for UNESCO World Heritage Sites and the UNESCO World Documentary Heritage, and they became independent ambassador objects in communication with World Heritage Sites with exhibitions. Around more than 800 coffers were produced in the last 20 years. A part is accessible on our digital museum coffer archive, and please do not hesitate to have a look on these wonderful ideas and creations. The museum coffers became part of exhibitions on well-known heritage sites, also in the UNESCO building Paris, and they gave strong inspiration to projects in Brazil and Tunisia. And in this time, the coffers were introduced into school life, teaching, in workshops and teacher trainings. The idea developed from the environment of children's museums, and the museum coffers are now regarded as a successful medium within the framework of discovering and exemplary learning through material culture, especially with the method of storytelling. And very important, contrasting or completing digital mediation, because the concrete sensual experience, an object in our hand, brings a strong material fascination and is opening new traces for memories. And with our museum's coffers, we looked back to the great traditions of teaching with materials as maps, slates, models, documents, books, dolls, and even animal replicas, and also classical methods of painting and drawing. Museum coffers are in most cases not industrially produced. In most cases, they are unique, handmade by teacher students for their target groups and for their pupils. They are small archives that have been together with a great deal of care and enthusiasm and interest. And here are some examples for cultural, social, and artistic approaches with museum coffers for entries of the world documentary heritage. The coffer on the left shows the construction and fall of the Berlin Wall and the 2+4 Treaty of 1909 in Germany. And the doll, the handmade doll, represents the former president of GDR from the German Democratic Republic, and he's a medium to introduce the different materials of the coffer. Mrs. Voigt used copies of photographs, created paper cuts, and formed so a small but impressive archive about this important event in German history. In the middle, you can see a museum's coffer with masks, books, and photos and little objects, and he is dedicated to the culture and the writings of Christopher Okigbo, a famous Nigerian poet, teacher, and librarian who died in the Biafra War 1967. And the museum's coffer on the right was created by the Korean artist and designer Yang Ran Kim, and she intended to promote the Korean documentary heritage, records on daily reflection, and in general, the tradition of scripture in Korea. And we were putting poems in small bags so it was easy to transport, and we were telling fairy tales with fascinating objects, handmade dolls, wonderful shoes, and little artworks. And our exhibition visitors, the pupils and all the different generations, they love to explore this, to touch this, and to enjoy and to spend time by looking and touching this museum's coffer. And we use the museum's coffer very often in teacher trainings. So 2019 in the Youth Art Gallery in Budapest, Hungary, where hundreds of pupils and a lot of teachers were fascinated by the possibilities of this method. So, in a short conclusion, I could talk hours about this project, museums coffers, and the mediation with material culture can make generally the documentary heritage accessible. Because, and this is a big problem, the documentary heritage is often only visible through digitization or shown behind showcases. And with the mediation of a coffer, you can arouse interest, you can deepen information, and inspire own artistic approaches. So, at last and at least, I would like to encourage you to start to create your own Museumskoffer archive and to try teaching and mediating with this, and you will wonder what will happen. And now, in my second part, please allow me to introduce you some successful creative projects for the memory of the world. One important started 2015, and it's still going on in the Brother Grimm Exhibition Hall in Kassel, one of the most beautiful museums in Germany. An exciting place. And it hosts the personal copies of the children's and household tales of 812, 815, with handwritten comments by the Brothers Grimm, since 2005 part of the UNESCO Memory of the World. And in Germany, you have no child which doesn't know some tales of the Brothers Grimm. It's a strong cultural heritage and has a huge impact on the German identity. But these fairy tales are, as Snow White, perhaps next to the Luther Bible, the most well-known and most widely distributed book of German cultural history. Dr. Susanne Völker, the founder, the director of this wonderful museum, developed at the height of the refugee crisis in Germany, 2015, an innovative project. 2015, more than 800,000 Syrian refugees and migrants came to Germany within a few months. And Dr. Susanne Völker started a project for integration and welcoming culture for the refugees of her city. She opened her museum and its famous documentary heritage for artistic and theater workshops with artists, composers, singers, together with refugees and their children. And there started an exchange about fairy tales in connection with personal biographies, and Susanne Völker named her project Tell Me Your Story. This project became a model for further contact and communication projects in whole Germany between refugees and citizens. The result of the project was the development of interdisciplinary and applicable kits with material for educators, social workers, kindergartens, teachers, and volunteers in integration projects, because this was needed in this moment, because everybody asks himself, what can we do? How can we reach the refugees? How can we start and develop positive ways of integration? And more than 900 boxes with the material were sent to different institutions. The working material can also be downloaded by open source on the homepage of the museum. So please, don't hesitate to have a look on this amazing project and its materials. Dr. Susanne Völker and her team demonstrated how strong and positive, really positive, and on long term, the cultural, political dimension and social influence can be if entries of the memory of the world are used for the needs of the contemporary society. And if we are thinking new ways. And now coming to the next project, This presents another exciting documentary heritage, The Family of Man, located in Luxembourg in the middle of Europe, developed by Dr. Sabine Weichel-Kickert, a German curator, university lecturer, and researcher. And she decided to start a dialogue between the exhibition and her students with the possibilities of drawing, painting, and using mixed media. The Family of Man is a photo-text installation that was designed by Edward Steichen from 1951 for the New York Museum of Modern Art, the famous MoMA, where it was on view 1955, a long time ago. And the exhibition presented more than 500 photos by 270 photographers from 68 countries. And the intention of Steichen was to promote inspirations and ideas for peace in the difficult times after war, in the after-war period and the beginning of the Cold War era. The photos presented motifs with death, suffering, and peace situation all over the world. In the following years, the exhibition was shown worldwide and was visited by more than 10 million people. It is hosted today in Luxembourg and is a UNESCO World Documentary Heritage since 2003. Nowadays, this exhibition is seen as a manifest of peace and the fundamental equality of the humankind. It's a great statement for UNESCO ideas of creating peace in the minds of everybody. The students of Dr. Sabine Weichel-Kickert participated with their creative commentaries through paintings, notes, and drawings on several exhibitions. The project opened new approaches to the historical dimension of the Cold War era and enabled empathy with the suffering and life of previous generations. And at the time, the works of the students were contemporary, very modern interpretations of the artistic intentions of the Family of Man and allowed for young people a new success. Now follows the approach of the project, The Disappearance of the Night, which took place in collaboration with the Visitor Center Nebra Sky Disc in Germany. It was an amazing project with great results. With the students, we were looking to the global light pollution, which causes the night sky and all its stars constellations to disappear from our consciousness. It's a very important and problematic development. The project goal was to remember that the starry sky gave humanity fundamental knowledge of time and space. Its observation caused the creation of calendars and was important for the navigation and orientation on rivers and sea. Till the end of the 19th century, stars were shimmering and could be observed in different colors, from blue to red, from white to orange and emerald, from yellow to navy blue. But nowadays, the starry sky is slowly losing its status as a significant cultural asset. The Nebra sky disk, Saxony-Anhalt in Germany, is dated to 1600 years before Christ, and it is inscribed in the UNESCO Memory of the World list since 2013. The disk is classified as one of the most important archaeological discoveries of the late 20th century, and it presents the oldest concrete depiction of the cosmos worldwide. It has a blue-green patina. The material is bronze. It is covered with golden symbols, potentially representing a sun or a sun bark, and the full moon surrounded by 27 stars. But our participating students, more than 60%, had never seen the Milky Way in the night. I couldn't believe it. More than 60%, because of light smog. Some did not even know that a Milky Way exists. The concept of the Nebra sky disk inspired our student group to search for approaches inspired in one way by the archaeology of the worldview of the Bronze Age, but the group also started to invent and to paint their own representations of the night, of the stars and the moon. Here are some very poetic commentaries of dreams, of sightseeings in the night, and imaginations. And one student reflected at the end of the project, "Now I pay more attention to the night sky, and I am now aware of the problems concerning the global light pollution. An unknown world was opened to me. The mythology of the sky disk of Nebra and its old representations of the moon, the stars, and the sunbark provided a strong impact on my artistic inspirations." Exhibitions at UNESCO Paris 2016 and in the Visitor Center of Nebra communicated their very personal and strong views and discoveries of the sky disk. And at last we created a museum cover for all these wonderful drawings which traveled around in different exhibitions. And I also want to mention that we used very simple material, cheap colors, cheap paper from the supermarket, and we didn't need much money to start the project. We just needed the idea and the visions which were communicated by this sky disk of Nebra. And now my last project, which personally brought also a lot of insights and strong experiences for me. It is the letter art project, Remember 1914-1918, which focused on the commemorative years of the First World War, remembering the more than 17 million victims worldwide. Our aim was to follow the traces of the First World War and to share these experiences by exhibiting creative commentaries on envelopes. Students and schools from more than 12 nations participated, including countries such as Russia, Croatia, Turkey, Armenia, Syria, China, and even Ecuador. The project received the patronage of the German Commission for UNESCO. It cooperated with UNESCO Associated Schools, the German War Graves Commission, what was very important, and the UNESCO Memory of the World program. We started 2013, 1 year before the beginning of the commemorative years, with an internet call and 2 online magazines with teaching materials which reached several scholars and age groups in Germany, France, and Belgium. 3 German universities joined the project. So far, more than 1,000 letter artworks have been created. We have till today an internet page, and the originals are hosted now in Germany in a special archive collection. Using simple envelopes replacing artistic canvas for drawings and paintings dedicated to the events of the First World War. This was a reminiscent for the traditional art of letter writing, as well as the field of postcards and the death notifications sent at this time from the authorities. So we remembered as an important part of social life during this epoch. Within the first few months, the Letter Art Project produced unaccepted insights and questions about teaching the Memory of the World program and art education in the context of European commemorative practices and memories. The focus on artistic work with a wide variety of media and materials that was linked to this historical epoch encouraged our pupils and students to reflect their own family history, what they had never done in this way before. The memory traces of the First World War are in the generational memory of the Germans superimposed by the dramatic consequences of the Second World War. So very much is forgotten and not still remembered. As in other countries as France or England or worldwide, even worldwide. The project groups were mainly interested in topics which seemed obviously authentic to their own life experiences. They loved emotional, charged topics such as the fate of women, lovers, children, unknown and known biographies, anecdotes, and aspects of everyday life, hunger, winter, and the stories of battlefields and landscapes like Verdun. They showed particular attention to the fate of animals used in the World War, especially the dogs, the carrier pigeons, and the 10 million horses. We were invited to organize exhibitions on famous World Heritage sites and memorial institutions in different European countries, with great success and very strong feedback by the visitors. In the last year of our Remember project, a Chinese student donated this illustration, the Chinese poem and song of Wanderer, dedicated to the life and sufferings of his grandparents, which lived as migrant workers under difficult circumstances. And after years of working with the Remember project and themes of suffering and war, we ended the project with a wonderful workshop organized by the Korean artist Yang Ran Kim, who is living in Germany, and she developed the therapeutic concept of peaceful lines, orientated and looking back to the great tradition of calligraphy, which is not well known in Germany. And with this precious heritage for peace, lines for peace, we ended the the 5 years of this project. And so I want to thank you for your attention, for your interest. Don't hesitate to send me an email if you have a question. And I'm looking forward for all these wonderful ideas in the future, which will promote world documentary heritage. Thank you for your attention.
Hello, everyone. How are you? My name is Helen Young. I'm from Macau. I'm the Director General of Macau Memory of the World Knowledge Center. And I'm also the Director of Macau Documentation and Information Society. So thank you very much for the invitation by UNESCO International Center for Documentary Heritage of Korean. So enable me to join this interesting and significant meeting to share about Macau's experience and to enable us to learn more from expertise. So my presentation today is in the topic of documentary heritage implementation, program creation, and network building in Macau. So my presentation includes mainly 4 parts. So first is about Macau and its documentary heritages and memory of the world. The second part is about Macau and memory of the world studies. And the third part is about promotional activities in Macau and its networking. And the fourth part is about the challenge of Macau. So I hope that you can give me more opinions after my presentation. So let me first introduce my first part, which will include about 4 small sections. First will be a very brief introduction of Macau and experience with Macau memory. And also, first I would like to give the brief introduction of Macau and Memory of the World program. And the second part, I will share a little bit about our 3 nominations on Memory of the World program. And then the last part of this first part will be about the establishment of Memory of the World Knowledge Center. Okay, so let me first share about the experience of Macau with Memory of the World. Only a few key issues. I think what important for us is in 2008, it was my first time to participate in MOCAP and Memory of the World. I still remember we were introduced by Simon Zhu, and he was from Hong Kong, and then he was also the secretary of the MOCAP, and then we were very lucky to participate in Memory of the World. Since then, we have a lot of cooperations, and also we have a lot of activities, and we also learn a lot from Memory of the World. So very fast, in 2010, we already co-organized MOCAP meeting in Macau, and then we start step by step to make our nomination in 2010, 2016, and 2017, and then in Macau different societies and also Macau government to make the nomination as well, and then make Macau more well-known and stimulate the public awareness on Memory of the World. And also what important for us, for Macau as well, is to make more promotion and make us to know about the preservation and managing well of the documentary heritages. So, and then in 2012, we already tried to implement about the memory of the world studies. So, and it was advised by Lothar Jordan. He was the chair. He's the chair of the IAC, and also vice chair of IAC, also the chair of Education and Research Subcommittee. So, and then in 2015 and 2016, and then we try to introduce IAC members to middle schools in Macau, and then they get in touch with students and communicate with students, and then they can have more experience each other to know, for students to know about memory of the world, and also enable IAC members, those VIPs, and they know more about how the feelings from young generation, how they feel and how they learn and how they progress about memory of the world program. And then what significance for Macau is in 2016, we established the first UNESCO Memory of the World Knowledge Center in Macau. As we know now, we have in the world, we have about 7 such kind of centers. So we connect together, and then we try to make us more powerful and strengthen our relations, strengthen our cooperations. So which is a similar experience with many other places, I think, but Macau, we have our special unions. So this is the first time we get in touch with memory of the world. It was, as I said, in 2008, we participated in the conference in Canberra, Australia. So it was impressive for us, and the slogan and the theme of the conference named "Imagine a World Without Memories." So we use it as our very good target for Macau, you know, to try to make this be well known, and we use this slogan as well always in our meetings. About our nominations, so in the first section, I would like to share, we have 3 Macau documentary heritages inscribed to MOCAP, and one of them already inscribed to international level. And then I will give a very brief introduction about this collection as well, to enable us to share about with you about Macau. So the first collection was about the Catholics resources. Name, the title we gave was the Archives and Materials of Macau Diocese from 1556S to 1800S. So sorry, I need to re-say this again. So it's the Archives and Materials of Macau Diocese from middle of 16th century to starting from 18th centuries. So it will add to MOCAP. So we received this certificate from UNESCO experts. And then also you can see we have our publications, and we have our archives, and those archives record the fathers from European countries to Macau. So you can see we records about when they came to Macau, where they come from, and then what they have done in Macau, what have they contributed for Macau. So, you know, Macau was actually as a bridge between European countries to Far East. So, and these records will be the well and very important significance and reference for that important period. So you can see some records about the baptism of marriage and Bureau of Catholics in Macau. And then we can see the different libraries in the St. Joseph Seminary. Those are the collection. I mean, from Bishop's office and St. Joseph Seminary, they group together and then we make the nomination as a whole collection. So we have 3 libraries in the seminary. And then during the nomination period, we study a lot with experts like Simon Sarah and also Bishop Lai. And so he, at that time, he was the bishop, and he is so knowledgeable, give a lot of information about the bishop's office and also the resources. And then we try to mark down all the typical information. And finally, we got the certificate, and we also, of course, invite those IAC experts to the site to visit the bishop and also to see all the archives. Still a lot. And the other, the second collection to make our nomination is the archives and manuscripts of Macau Kong Tat Lam Temple. It's from middle of 17th century to the almost end of 20th centuries. So the rich collection contains more than 6,000 items and about from the Ming Qing dynasty to Republican era. So it comprises some webooks, letters, and photos, handwriting materials, and also printings as well. So, and also their diary, also government certificates as well. So the they are cataloged and listed in based on the professional classification. So here is the original library of the Kong Tat Lam. You can see originally they have their publications in their shelves. And then we can find also from their collection, they already make their well catalog for their all books and their archives as well. So they, according to the traditional method by handwriting. So we can see the knowledgeable person, and they were also very serious on the publications. So here are their books. We can show a little bit of them, paintings, and you can see genealogies of the Kong Tat Lam Temple. We can see one generation to one generation, they record very well on this silver containers, silver carriers to make their collection very well. So since the collection are very important, but some of them are already in damaging, and some of them are out of cataloging. So we invite some experts, Buddhists, and also some students, and we would like to stimulate students to know more about how to manage the collection and let them to involve in the history of this part. So that's why you can see from our pictures, and many of them are young generations to participate on the cataloging jobs. We took almost 3 years to finish this part of work. So this one is the abbot of the temple. His name is Sik Gai Seng. So he gave a lot of support to our works, and then let us to have more freely and good encouraged to make the collection be well organized. So you can see he also joined us to try to detect all the materials. You know, a lot of the paintings, diaries were stored in the boxes and then without opening. Because we want to make the nomination, help to try to get out from them to make, you can see, make cataloging. You can see the letters, and this letter is very important. It's from a very famous person named Liang Kaiqiu, Liang Qichao. So he's the very famous in the end of the Qing dynasty. He went to Japan with the founder of the temple, and they are very friendly. They provide education and establish schools, middle schools in Japan, and then those communication letters demonstrate how they concern about the education in Japan. All those are the letters from Liang Qichao. Also, we can also find some related Buddha stories printings. So our society also help to make a digitization of all this kind of printing and make cataloging as well. And then it's not enough. We also invite some experts to give us more guidelines and share their experience on the materials. For example, this one you can see is about the palm leaves manuscripts. So it's very, very important collection. Besides, we have also invited some IAC members in very early in 2012. And then you can see Rose Lee, Roger, and so, and then to give us more ideas about how we can make better preserve, how we can be well promote this kind of materials. And what important is that how we can explore its importance. So, and then we learned that actually this temple was mainly established for what? For women Buddhist college. So that's why this is the first women's education college for Buddhists in between Hong Kong, China, south part of China, and also in Canton, and also Taiwan as well. So it's the first one. That's why the collection is so significant and important for us to keep. So we also share the stories, and you can see we keep on and try to find as many as possible and try to educate young generation to know more about this and to participate. And so you can see now the collection well managed in two libraries of the temple. So they release some spaces for us to store the collections here. So we also gave guidelines in each bookshelves, and also the classification scheme and the example also provided for all the users. So now they can be used by general public easily. And then later on, we deliver the certificate to the temple. And then, you know, this certificate belongs to the temple. We share this to the chair, Sikai Singh, the mode. And then the third one, I would like to also have a very short time to share about this. It's about official record of Macau Qing Dynasty. And then actually during the Qing Dynasty, Qing government requests Portuguese government to use Chinese as a communication language, as a formal language to write all the records, write all the government letters as well. So we collect a lot of such kind of information. And now, so you can see they use Chinese to write government information as well. So all the records already preserved and well organized, but keep in the Portugal National Archives. And Macau Archives also make a duplication, and we can access easily in Macau. So all these free collection already inscribed to Memory of the World registers. So, and then and the third one of this part, I would like to share about the Memory of the World Knowledge Center. So actually it was proposed by Lothar Jordan. You know, he is the vice chair of the IAC, and also he's the chair of the subcommittee of education and research committee of under the IAC. So I think it's very good idea and very good concept for Macau to get in well touch and to improve our cooperation and improve our status on Memory of the World to the general public. So, and since then, I also study with different universities. So I think it's very good for us to make this be established in Macau, and then we found a very good place in City University of Macau. So I think it's jointly running, jointly operate by City University and Macau Documentation and Information Society. So the open ceremony was made in 2016 November, and we invite many VIPs and the guests from IAC, and also a few subcommittees, representative or chairs also came, and then they witnessed the opening of the Memory of the World Knowledge Center in Macau. I think it's the first one of the world. So, and it made us more concerned and more serious on this part. So we go to our second part. It's about the documentary heritages and memory of the world studies. So in this part, I will more emphasize on the how Macau participant and try our best to make memory of the world studies in university or in middle school, and how the students, they got recognized towards the documentary heritage and memory of the world inscriptions. So first of all, I will share about the course program. So, you know, we already, I'm sorry, I think the video interrupt. I'm not sure from where. I will try to repeat a few more pages, so maybe you can cut them. So so let me start in the second part. So it's about documentary heritages and memory of the world studies. So this part I will more emphasize on how memory of the world studies educations be promoted, be implemented in Macau. So no matter in university course program for graduate students or undergraduate students, and we have our research works, and also some works we promote to the school, I mean to the middle school. And then we can also draw the attention, if we can get the feedbacks from students that their records, they are recording words and they are memory words as well to share with you. So first of all, let me share about, for example, Macau Documentation and Memory Program Studies. So this is the course we provide by, in University of Macau for bachelor students. And also we have Historical Heritage of Macau. So this is for master program. This program we already have about 7 years already, so it's running well and attract a lot of students, and also the faculty also pay a lot of attention on this program. So it's for master program. We also encourage students to make their master thesis on memory of the world, or maybe on the special documentary heritages that already inscribed to memory of the world. And the other course, I don't want to give all examples. Actually, we have Macau documentation, Macau history in China, and also Macau and Chinese civilization. So different kind of courses. We can implement the UNESCO Memory of the World Studies into such kind of courses. So, and already now it's become a well system and running quite well now. So as I say, in particular, the course also consists of world heritages and also intangible cultural heritages, documentary heritages. So that based on the theory of UNESCO historical heritages, UNESCO registers. So it's good to involve this kind of concept to the history course program, and it's very good. So I mean, the concept of UNESCO, we mainly including these 3 parts to the course. But what important is the memory of the world. Why? Because it can also record the world heritages, also the intangible cultural heritages. So it take an important task. So we want to make all the young generations to know about memory of the world, not just focus on past, on preserving, but also need to know how to create some projects on recording the contemporary issues, contemporary resources, contemporary heritages. So to be preserved for future. So it's step by step. So I can see the program already, as I say, for some years, and then already make some influence in University of Macau, and but we control the number of students not exceed 20, but always normally around 20 or 12 or 19, 17 something. So what we involve in the course, besides the system cross program, I mean, in the class we will give very detailed concepts, theories as well, and we also make more workshops and make the course more interesting. For example, we will create some special chances, special opportunities to invite UNESCO IAC members to get in touch or communicate with our students. They can talk each other. I can show some pictures. For example, we invite Lord Jordan, and I'm so sorry because we have time difference from Macau and German, so he needs to wake up very early in 6 o'clock something, so to talk with our students. And then we have a lot, students have a lot of questions and to ask about the preservation, about the technology, about the networking, and so and so. And we also invite young boss. You know, he is the chair of the subcommittee of register, so he is more experienced on about the criteria and about the what is significant, what is not significant on the nomination. So students are interesting, they enjoy very much, and a lot of questions. And I also need to thank young boss. He also take his time, and then in the I think it's lunch time, to talk with us and share. And I also took students to libraries, archives, and enable them to know more the physical environment and how they manage it, how the resources be preserved, and how important of them. So this is in the Web book collection. So students will they may never see, but for example, this we visit the archives, and then we can see how they preserve, how they recover of all the damaged archives, so they're interested. So this lady is the director of the Macau Archives. So he also gave a lot of guidelines, gave a lot of knowledgeable information about the process, the history of Macau, also the archives. And here also I will take students to temple to talk with the Buddhas, and then they gave more particular information and let them to touch of the old materials, and so, and then we can have some talks, some communications with the Buddhas as well. So what important is to enable students to study how to recording, as I say, recording some intangible cultural heritages. And then I took them to study like dragon drinking. So students were required to make their survey on the history and its origin. So dragon is the kind of intangible cultural heritages for Macau. So and they need to record, they need to make interview, they need to study. So I will let them to participate on this kind of performing. And you know, they can see how the dragon drink to performing, and then they work together and communicate with those inheritors, and so to learn more and mark down everything to record. It's interesting. Some students are also be invited to have an interview by radio program, and then they share their thoughts on participating on such kind of memory projects, and then they can make more. I think it's good to disseminate and well promote. Besides that, they I will also took them to for site visit. For example, to visit the cultural heritage sites, and then they need to also record. They have assignments when they visit all the cultural heritages. They need to have different jobs. For example, they need to record about the buildings, the contributions, and the furnitures, and also some special materials or the special persons. So step by step, let them to get involved with the memory projects and during the class, no matter in temple, church, old house as well. For example, they also can be communicate with fathers in the church, in the seminary, and then they need to mark down what they have interviewed, and then to learn about the memory project, what should do to be better. So you know what interesting is that when they were visit the temple, they were also invited to enjoy a vegetarian lunch, so they can feel in history how the school won and how the students, I mean the female students, study in the temple, and they use the materials they eating and so, and then they will have a lot of questions asked the monk in the temple as well. So that's a good experience. And so also you can see from the picture, they also can directly see about the documentary heritages about like palm leaves manuscripts. So those already inscribed to vocab, and then they don't easy to see this only from the picture, but when I take them to the site and to the temple, so they can be easily to improve their knowledge as well. So besides, you can see we, in addition to make this cross program in the universities, so I also, our society also introduced more experts and like from IAC, I mean Memory of the World International Advisory Committee, those VIP guests to middle school. So we want to make more promotion to the middle school to enlarge the awareness on the Memory of the World program, also in the inscription. So this time we brought them to introduce Papa and also Lothar to not a big school, medium-sized middle school in Macau, named Macau Dongnam School. So we gave all opportunities to students to talk with Lothar and Papa. You can see from the picture they enjoy very much, and both of them also enjoy. I mean, no matter Lothar and Papa and students, and they can realize each other more. And for students, most of the questions they will ask how to make nomination, how the UNESCO wants, why important to preserve the heritage materials, why important for history. So I think Papa, Lothar, they gave a very good explanations to students. At the same time, I think from the international society, they also can get more feedbacks from young generation. They learn more about how students thought, what is their concern, what are the important concerns. So we arrange also 2 small students to give interview to Lothar and Papa. They enjoy so much. And then in the next year, 2016, again, we invite more IAC members, MOCAP members to visit Dongnam School, and they can see the very new difference. I mean, the great improvement for the students. They make their projects, they make their exhibitions about Memory of the World, and they make in all the classrooms, they decorate about the Memory of the World inscriptions for China, like the Qing Dynasty's Yangtze Lei archives. And so from the picture, you can see that. So, and besides, they also have some drama, have some assignment works to show to the IAC members about what they have learned about the Memory of the World. So this is other activities we try to expand. So we understand that Memory of the World program is not just for historical heritages, but also to improve the education and research works for contemporary, for modern generation, enable students to be well preserved for the contemporary resources, of course, for the historical resources, but also important to use the high technology, the good skills. So for myself, for our team, we also keep on our works. So I mean, besides Dongnam School, we also select other good and potential schools. For example, like this one, Matthew Rich College. So this is also traditional and historical schools. So we giving a keynote speech and communicate with students about the topic of memory of this small town. So we introduce about world heritages, intangible cultural heritages, also important to encourage students, encourage schools to make school memories project, to try to collect as many as possible their own materials and also keep well their current and I mean the modern resources. So you see here are some examples. The pictures we, not only me, I mean our team also gave some kind of speeches to schools. And here I'm showing about the UNESCO registers, and also students enjoy the talk. And then furthermore, we also make some exhibitions in the primary school as well, not just middle schools. So you see, this is the exhibition we make to promote about Macau history, some very small phrase with pictures, and then we enable students to enjoy by a small picture, small faces, small stories, and to know about the history of Macau. And then, of course, it includes some different kind of buildings, archives, photos, and also some traditional customs as well. So students will enjoy very much. And of course, you can see we include documentary heritages for the exhibition in the primary school for the very young generations. So we also arrange some workshops, arrange teachers to our Memory of the World Knowledge Center. So we provide different kind of workshops to different kind of people. This picture you can see which is about some middle school teachers. After they enjoy the workshop, and then we visit the center. So which is our works. So besides, as I say, we can encourage school to make their own school's memories. So they start to collect. First, I will suggest them to make photos. We will give helps. We will have assistants. We will arrange experts, I mean professional librarians, to help them to make cataloging and classification of some photos as well. So you can see we make posters first. When we collect a certain number of the photos, we will make very simple postcards, and so they will easy to deliver, to share with other friends, students, or send to overseas people as well. So this is the first steps for school memory, and then we will suggest them to collect, for example, school activities with teachers and their performing experience. And you see in the school memory, one of important, before they also make a vaccination. Of course, not COVID-19 vaccination, but for them it's a good memory. When they read the picture, they see their elder schoolmates to do this, they will laugh and feel interesting. But now we also need to do so for COVID-19. So a lot of this kind of pictures and we collect. So for Macau, for memory of the world studies in Macau, we can simply conclude that we will raise awareness in from local identity to international prospects. So to enable students to open their mind, to expand their thought, and to improve their, doesn't matter on skill, and also for their concepts on how to involve to the memory of the world, how to involve in the preservation projects, and how to involve on the expanding of the functions in these memory projects. I mean, not just for preservation, but also for use, for access, for expanding to creating its usage for this kind of materials. So our target is also in middle school, primary school, of course, university, and some educational institute. And for doesn't matter what kind of students. Actually, we also to general public, and then some different kind of societies. And I mean, for example, teachers and some different kind of society members, and they would like to also join us and to visit and to give a workshop as well. So, and then we will emphasize the participants to try to make recording of the doesn't matter what. I mean, for example, world heritages and intangible cultural heritages, some performing, some singing, some song, and some, of course, including the documentary heritages. Okay, so now we go to our third part of my presentation. It's about the promotional activities and networkings. So first, I would like to introduce you Macau Memory Project, which is the big one project recently that launched by Macau Foundation. It's a government department. And the second part, I will share some, promotional activities in Macau about the memory of the war. So let me introduce you about Macau Memory Project. I think it's, as I said, it's created and launched by Macau Foundation. It aims really important for us, I think, is to build up a huge database with the purpose to including all significant Macau historical resources. For example, some old photos, archives, documentation, and some oral history, and some old books, newspapers, and what important is to, as I always emphasize repeatedly, to record the current and contemporary resources. So we already built up a Macau Memory website. And I also introduced myself. I am working in Macau Foundation, although today my presentation is not represent Macau Foundation. But anyway, my full-time job is in Macau Foundation, and Macau Memory is part of my job and the main job. So I need to do some research on it and study on it. So which I like to share with you. So in the database, what we need is to get well managed of all the resources, as I just said, like some events, some music, movie, intangible cultural heritages, oral histories, and so some. We have to manage the resources in scientific and logical system. So that's why it's not just a website, it's a platform, it's a big system. So enable general public to access the materials and access the informations freely, easily, and friendly, and let them to find their identity from this platform. I think is what important. So simply, I can say include vertical, horizontal Macau historical memories, and some special documentation like newspapers, and so, and it include culture in Western and Eastern, and also some like Macau's like gambling and traveling, and any kind of materials, but must be meaningful significance. So ready to be stored here, because we will spend a lot of times. We make our metadata system, we make our different kind of fields, we make our searching system, and so I will take a little bit time to share with you about the web page. So let me see. I already opened our website, and then. Okay, I can share. This is the Instagram. Okay, this is the, let me show in the first page. So this is the first page of Macau Memory. So we have our huge directories. So each we can expand. This is in Chinese, but actually we don't have English. We have Portuguese and Chinese. Chinese, we will have simplified Chinese and traditional Chinese. So I will show a little bit, for example, in Portuguese, we can write today in history and so and so. And then, but may I show in Chinese? It's more easy for me to talk with you, and maybe you can also see for me. So I think it's a comprehensive platform. Here we can see, for example, and I show a little bit. This is the vertical. You can see Macau from different kind of period. Ancient Macau and Ming Dynasty, early of Qing, middle of Qing, late Qing, late of Qing, and Republican area, and then and People's Republic of China and Macau handover to China, and we have important event, and we have some special important person, and we have our natural environment and heritages and in cultural heritages buildings as well, and we have our different professions. I mean, industry, service. And for example, maybe I will show you gambling. And you know, many people, when we talk about Macau, they will say gambling. But I would like to say gambling is only a part of Macau. But we have our rich culture and rich historical resources. For example, here, when I click gambling, it will show 200 something records. And then you can access it and filter it. Now you can see pictures, but you can search, for example, filter it. I only want to read. For example, if you only want to read writings, wordings, small faces, so you can filter, or you can add that to picture, maybe more easy to demonstrate. For example, you know, we have many different kinds of gamblings in Macau. So, and you can easily to search. But if I just want to show pictures, so you can see just pictures. And I will also make it on, besides photos, I will also change the time. For example, I will only see in the end of the Qing Dynasty. So it's not many. Maybe get another, we forget this. So you will get a lot of pictures show about gambling. So you can see this. So in the street, people will pay. And this picture is about 1925 to 1941, about this time. So people enjoy gambling in the street. So here is the accessing point. So in case we want more different kind of gambling, you can just click here, and then you will show the similar kind of gambling. We have picture, we have writings as well. These are the accessing points. So you can see on the street, different kind of people in the street to pay gambling as well. So, I mean, through the accessing point. So all these are the accessing point for us. You can search by the region of Macau, by the time, by the other keywords. And then here we also have the copyright issues. So, I mean, for example, who take this picture, and then if people want to use, they need to get the rights to use the picture for different purpose. So we have to mention this carefully. So besides, people can also enjoy musical here. For example, I just try a little bit and see if can one. So this one, and some already are old music. Explanation, readings. So it's some classical. Okay, so I hope you will enjoy it when you access this webpage. So besides, we will we will ask public donation, public share, public join us. For example, we have lucky draw, and we will ask general public to share their resources. For example, this section, we will ask people to donate old shops photos, so they can share, they can upload to here, and then we will ask general public to vote which one you like most, and then the top 10 will get some prizes as well. So it's a small encouragement, so to get public to participate. So besides, in our first page, you can easy to see we will have today in history. For example, today is 9th of October. So you can see in history what happened about on today. Of course, people can search any day they want to know about in the history, and then they can access inside, and any record we will also give the full metadata information to allow other people to make access through this record. So I don't make so much demonstration. So this, I will back to our presentation. So because of the time limit, I don't have time to show all. I think it need to take a lot of time. But what we need to do for the Macau Memory Project, first off, we build up our metadata, the networking. The network is not just technical network, but also the social network. So that's why we need to have more cooperation and participation. We need to encourage. So we can say it composes wisdom and powers of the society. So we will ask for cooperation from libraries, museums, and archives, and mediums, photographic societies, and some scholars, and some private and public collectors, experts, and so and even we need to learn about law, about some legislation, and then we ensure all our materials be legally used and accessed in our webpage. So it's very important. So we need to work cooperation with many different kind of, I can say all Macau related societies will be also important part of our partner, of our cooperator. So we will encouraging all friends to share. Doesn't matter official department or institute, but also some personal belongings and their own pictures. They are, for example, some people show us the money and the old coins as well, and their personal certificates, and so that we think if we will evaluate if it can be demonstrate a special period of Macau and special group, special person, special generation, and special emotion of Macau. We will encourage people to share with us. So we need to get more help. If you and from Korean, from different part of the world, if you have some collection, we will be happy to join hand and share with us. And I can share, last month we get support from National University of Singapore Museum. They are very kind to share with us free of charge a long painting. It's about the old history of Macau. It's very, very important. And so we need all the supports from different kinds of the world. For example, the Macanese Society, and they are, you know, which is the special group of people in Macau, but they already some I mean, some of them already immigrate all around the world. So every 3 years, they will have a meeting. Besides, recently, because of the COVID-19 is suspended. Otherwise, every 3 years, they will have a meeting in Macau, and then they join together. They will share many different kind of resources about Macau, and then we will encourage them to group together to share with us, and we'll make digitization and then share in the web page as well. So about the promotion of the Macau Memory Project, you can see we have our web page, and we have our Facebook, and also Instagram. And I can show, for example, this is the Instagram. So it's about Macau Memory, Macau Foundation. So we will show in our web page the different kind of materials, and also we have our Facebook. So I think I no need to show. I just kept a picture here. So we will show every day about our history, today in history, and also some special topics and some interesting and hit topics, and to get in touch with the young generations. And also we have WeChat. I don't know if you use WeChat or not, but in China, and I think most of Chinese use WeChat, is chat system. So they have a special platform enable us to share some news. So we will also share in the WeChat, enable more people to learn and know and share each other. So I can say that's very, very interesting. So if you ask me the positioning of the Macau Memory Project, so first one, we will face general public. We will hope our Macau citizens to know about Macau history, to find our identity, and to integrate our emotion in this platform. So you can see mostly we show small and short passage and short information. And of course, we have some full books I will share later. And then we will have more pictures, and so attract more people, and they will easily get in touch and get in feeling on the Macau history, and they will integrate their emotion to this platform. And then the second part, we will promote this to the researchers. We hope this webpage also help the researchers to learn about Macau, or they do researchers can find their works. And for example, I can show you a little bit about, we have our local publications, for example, Chinese, Portuguese as well, and then our archives, our old newspaper. I think I don't have time to show all. For example, Chinese newspaper. So this is the very old one, developed by Lan Xichao, as the letter I show you in the Temple Gongdalam. So here's the full collection already here. I think it's 113 something issues of this very important newspaper. So the full text already here, and people can read easily, and you can enlarge, of course. And besides, we also provide the table of contents, so you can easily to access the table of content from the table of contents directly to that article. Okay, so I don't need to show all of the some full text publications and so different materials. So besides, we hope this can useful for government and from business, and then they can use it when they make some policy decision. They can refer to this page and learn from history and some special policies maybe as reference. And then, of course, for business, they know more customers and their habits, and they expand their marketing. They may be easily found from some shops information as well from here. And then also we hope this can be internationalized and through different kind of channel to promote to international. So it's both sides, let more outside people to know Macau, but also we want to hope international society will give more resources to us to support the memory project. So I can share, I can tell the Macau memory, simply to say you have people here involved, more person on this website to show different kind of person. We have our affairs, events. I don't have time to show different kind, big and small activities. And we have our intangible cultural heritage performing. And so we have our size, no matter physical and intangible, have our things, materials, and like some tickets, books. And so, of course, what importance involve our emotional here. So it's to find our identity here. So, which is the Macau Memory Project. I think it's the idea. There's no doubt that it's from Memory of the World, the concept, and then expand to Macau, and then we study about this, and then make this possible to make this web page. So in future, we hope this Macau Memory it's a website, but more like a platform to get in touch with users through some readers. They can download and upload things, of course, under the legal condition. So they cannot download something that without authorization, and we cannot upload something that without authorization as well. So that's our long-term development for the Macau Memory. So this is a part of the Memory of the World's concept. I think we need to know it's a platform for culture, for history. So at the end, I would like to conclude and also make our further perspectives, so challenges and further development. So I think what we have taught before, and we mostly emphasize on the function of Memory of the World. So actually, I think we need to expand our functions morely. I mean, to including horizontally, I mean, with the world heritages, intangible cultural heritages, and also to try to get more cooperations each other. Because, for example, when the world heritages, they need to, if they make nomination, they need to need all the supports by documentary heritages, which I already assigned some assignments to my students. For example, they need to try to nominate some world heritages, but they need to get more support from documentary heritages. So then they will know how important of the documentary heritages, some archives, photos, books, how important of it. So that's the continually works. And then we will encourage some people, I mean scholars, they use the resources to write more articles and some research works. And actually some of the master students, as I said, their master thesis already using Memory of the World and some documentary heritages as a topic to finish their research works, I mean their master thesis. So continually we will organize more works, I mean the workshops, some training programs for students, for librarians, for some general publics. And we have actually also invite some different societies members to visit the Memory of the World Knowledge Center, to visit the heritages, and that organized by us. I mean, at the end, we will emphasize how important of the documentaries and the records and something, and then to emphasize this. So we will keep on disseminate this to school and university. And of course, because of the COVID-19, we know that we were jeopardized by I mean the traffic. I mean we cannot meet with many different kinds of people easily, and we have keep distance. And then of course we lacking of resources as well, and then I mean manpower, and so but anyway, I think we can try our best to solve the problem and then make more improvement. So, and we will walk into schools if possible, and to give more talks to students as well. And then we hope our collection, no matter in the Knowledge Center or our society, we hope that we can improve our collection, enable readers to enjoy readings. Of course, we know that we can have more, I mean, the electronic resources. Those are also our targets too. I hope all the centers can build up a platform in the future. So you may know that we proposed by Lothar Jordan, and we already established a new working group for all the centers. Now is seven centers. Now are 7 centers. We group together. We have a working group, and we have 10 members. And I'm lucky that we appoint as the coordinator, so we have more works on it. And that's why we hope we can enlarge our connections, and I mean internationally, to get more concerned. And so we need more assistance from UNESCO and all memory of the world's friends, like Korean and different kind of the of institute of the world, and to support us. And we work closely with different kind of society, as I said, to improve the memory of the world's function and its influence. It doesn't matter in regional society. And for example, they have a lot of, I use this just as an example. So we work closely, we always record what they work, and they have some ceremony every year, and then it's interesting. And then we have some talks and communicate with them, and then to know their improvement. Even we found that even the child, they enjoy reading books in the temples. I think it's good for us to enlarge our targets. So at the end, I would like to show you this poster, and it's sent by Misako. So it's interesting. And then it's about the promotion of Memory of the World program, not from Macau, but we can find Macau there. So that's why I want to show. So, and here you can see it's about 426 international registers, where you can see they show that in Asian Pacific, we found only 3 related to women's empowerment. One is from New Zealand, one is from Korean, and one is from Macau. So I know about Macau is talking about the功德Lam's temple, which is the first women's Buddhist education college in Macau, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Labour region. I mean, in Canton areas, at least we know. So we are working on it. We try to nominate it to international register. That's what we hope. And what we need is your continued support. So here I would like to end up my presentation. It takes a lot of times, and I think some of the videos already interrupt. So I record again. But anyway, I think I need to say thank you very much again for the society, I mean our local society, to support us to make Memory of the World program be well developed in Macau. And I hope to get more support from UNESCO and from everywhere. And then end up of this presentation, I would like to thanks again UNESCO International Center for Documentary Heritage of Korean. And then thanks Angie arranged and inviting me to participate. And I would like to hope we can have more cooperation in future, and hope COVID-19 will become memory no more. And then welcome all of you to Macau, and we can meet each other. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, bye-bye. Thank you.